The leather seats smelled expensive. That's what Junie thought as she pressed herself down against the back seat, knees pulled up, trying to breathe quietly. She knew she shouldn't be there. This wasn't her car. It belonged to that quiet guy who always sat in booth 7, the one who never smiled, never complained, and always left those crazy big tips like they were nothing. But Vanessa was standing at the front door of the restaurant. Vanessa with her flowers and that smile. The same woman whose, "I love you," eventually turned into, "You're nothing without me." 8 months. Junie had been free for 8 whole months. New city. New job. New phone. She deleted all the photos, blocked every account, and told nobody where she was going. And somehow, Vanessa had still found her. So when Junie spotted the unlocked car in the back lot, she didn't think twice. She just moved. Now she was stuck in a stranger's car, hearing her heart pound in her ears, praying nobody would open the door. Then the door opened. Hey, before we find out who just opened that door, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this, I need a quick second of your time. If you're new here, this is what we do. We tell real stories about real people facing real stuff. No sugarcoating, no fairy tales. If you're feeling the tension right now, if you're wondering who's at that car door, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, drop your city or country in the comments. I read every single one, and I love knowing who's on this journey with me. The man who filled the doorway was tall. Broad shoulders. Perfect posture. The kind of guy who knows exactly how much space he takes up. Junie froze. The dim parking lot lights caught parts of him, his expensive suit, fancy watch, and that jawline that never seemed to relax. It was him. The guy from booth 7. He didn't yell. Didn't reach for his phone to call security. Didn't even look surprised. He just watched. His eyes took in everything. Her server uniform with the restaurant logo. The small tear in her tights. Her name tag. Her shaking hands. Then he looked past her, toward the restaurant entrance. Toward Vanessa, who was still standing there, scanning the parking lot like she had all night to wait. "You're hiding," he said. Not a question. Just a fact. His voice was quiet but clear. The kind that never needed to shout to be heard. Junie's heart hammered harder. This was it. He'd call the police. Make a scene. Vanessa would come running. "She's out there," Junie managed to say. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." He lifted his hand slightly, cutting her off. Not rudely. Just efficiently. "Get in properly." The words didn't make sense at first. "What?" "Get in properly," he repeated, stepping back from the door. "Unless you want to stay in the parking lot." Before she could answer, he walked around to the driver's side, keys in hand. Junie had seconds to decide. Stay crouched in a stranger's car or slide into the passenger seat and drive away with a man she only knew from watching him stir his coffee and sign credit card receipts. Then she saw Vanessa walking toward the parking lot. Decision made. Junie scrambled into the front seat just as the driver's door opened. She fumbled with the seatbelt, the click sounding super loud in the quiet car. He started the engine without saying a word. 2 minutes later, they were on the main road, the restaurant's neon sign getting smaller in the mirror. The car was really quiet. Not the nice quiet between friends. Not even the awkward quiet of strangers. This quiet had weight to it, careful, watchful, full of questions nobody was asking. Junie kept her hand near the door handle. Old habit. Always know your way out. Always have a plan. Her eyes caught street signs, remembering where they were in case she needed to find her way back. He drove carefully. No sudden moves. No sharp turns. Hands at 10 and 2 like they teach you in driver's ed. LA's downtown lights passed by the windows, taco stands still open, closed shops, convenience stores with blinking signs. Friday night crowds hung out on corners, laughing too loud, leaning on each other. 3 red lights. 4. 5. Junie's stomach growled, reminding her that dinner had been half a sandwich eaten while standing between tables. That was 6 hours ago. Like he heard her thoughts, he spoke. When did you last eat? The question surprised her so much that Junie blinked. What? You worked a double, he said, eyes on the road. I was there for both shifts. A little chill ran down her spine. He'd noticed her. Watched her. Not just today but during different shifts. Paying attention. I don't, that's not. She stopped herself. Was this really happening? Sitting in a fancy car with a stranger she'd just been hiding from, talking about when she last ate? There's a diner, he said, filling the silence. Open all night. They won't ask questions. The way he said it wasn't pushy. Just information, offered with no pressure. Junie knew the smart thing to do. Ask to be dropped at a gas station. Call an Uber. Get away from this stranger who somehow made helping her seem like the most normal thing in the world. But something about his voice, the complete lack of pressure, just offering a simple solution, made her pause. Okay, she heard herself say. She'd spent 2 years with someone who turned every question into a demand, every suggestion into an order. The difference hit hard. They'd been driving for about 17 minutes when Junie finally asked what she really wanted to know. Who are you? He glanced at her quickly, then back at the road. The streetlights lit up his face, strong nose, high cheekbones showing his Korean background, slight stubble along his jaw. Park Simone, he said. That's it. Just the name. Junie shifted in her seat. That's not what I meant. I know. The corner of his mouth lifted a tiny bit. Not quite a smile. More like he got the point. Another red light. He stopped perfectly, hands still at 10 and 2. I own businesses, he said finally. Some legal. Some not so much. Certain people know my name. The words were careful. He was leaving space for her to read between the lines. Junie thought about this. That sounds like a warning. It is. The light turned green. They moved forward. Now would be the time to ask to get out. Now, before they went any further. Instead, she asked, so why are you helping me? His hands tightened a bit on the steering wheel. So subtle she might have missed it if she hadn't spent years watching for tiny changes, learning to spot storms before they hit. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. Just for her, even though they were alone in the car. Because I know what it looks like when someone needs a door that isn't locked. Something in how he said it made her throat tight. There was history there. Experience. The kind you don't get from watching movies or reading about it. The car slowed, turning into a small parking lot. A neon sign flickered above, Moon's Corner Diner, open 24 hours. They walked into Moon's Corner Diner at 12:20 a.m. Junie had no idea, couldn't possibly have known, that in just 2 days this stranger would be the only thing standing between her and a nightmare she didn't see coming. And what his protection would cost would be more than either of them expected. You know, controlling relationships don't start out that way. They begin with attention. Someone really seeing you when you've been feeling invisible. It's only later that you realize how that attention changed from caring to controlling. By then, you're already caught in a web that's super hard to break free from on your own. When Junie moved away, cut contact, and changed her number, she was doing what experts call creating distance. It's necessary, but it's also one of the most dangerous times. When someone leaves an abusive relationship, that's when the risk gets highest. The hardest part of starting over isn't finding somewhere new to live or getting a new job. It's learning to trust again, other people, but mostly yourself. Trusting your ability to spot danger. To set boundaries. To know when an unlocked door is a trap or maybe, just maybe, a way out. Moon's Corner Diner looked like something from another time. Faded red booths, checkerboard floor, and a counter with spinning stools that squeaked when you turned them. The kind of place that served breakfast 24 hours a day because they understood some problems couldn't wait until morning. The bell above the door jingled as they walked in. It was nearly empty, just a truck driver hunched over coffee at the counter, a college kid surrounded by textbooks, and a waitress who looked up and nodded at Simone like she knew him. "Your usual spot?" she asked, already grabbing menus. He nodded, guiding Junie toward a corner booth. The one with a perfect view of both the entrance and the kitchen. The one where his back would be against the wall. Junie noticed how he scanned the place without being obvious about it. How his eyes caught every movement, every person. Like it was as natural as breathing. They slid into opposite sides of the booth. The vinyl seat crackled under Junie's weight. "Coffee?" the waitress asked. "Yes," Junie said, too quickly. Her hands were still shaky, and she tucked them under the table. The waitress looked at Simone. He just nodded once. When she left, silence settled between them. Not awkward, exactly. More like waiting. Like two people trying to figure out the rules of whatever this was. The coffee came. Black for him. Cream and sugar for her, though she hadn't asked for it. The waitress just seemed to know. Junie wrapped her fingers around the mug, letting the warmth sink into her skin. 10 hours since her last real meal. The menu sat unopened in front of her. "You should eat something," Simone said. It wasn't a command. Just a quiet observation. "I'm fine." "You're not." The bluntness surprised her. Not cruel, just matter of fact. The waitress returned. Simone ordered nothing. Junie hesitated, then asked for eggs and toast. Food she could eat quickly if she needed to leave in a hurry. More silence. Simone didn't seem bothered by it. His stillness was strange, complete control, no fidgeting, no checking his phone. Just present in a way most people never were. Finally, he spoke. "How long have you been at Crescent Moon?" 8 months. "You live alone?" Junie tensed. "Why?" Context. "Yes. I live alone." "Have you reported her?" "The woman who was waiting for you." 3 times. Junie's laugh had no humor in it. First time they said they needed more evidence. Second time they suggested I was overreacting. Third time they took a report that's probably in a drawer somewhere. Simone nodded like this was exactly what he'd expected. The bell above the door jingled again. 2 men walked in. Korean, maybe mid-30s, business casual clothes that didn't quite hide their athletic builds. They saw Simone. The change was instant. Their backs straightened. Eyes dropped slightly. Heads dipped in small bows of acknowledgement. They moved to the far corner of the diner, careful to keep distance between themselves and Simone's table. Junie noticed. Who are they? Associates. They're scared of you. Cautious, he corrected. There's a difference. Something shifted in that moment. Something important. Junie realized she was sitting across from someone people feared. Someone dangerous. Yet somehow, she felt safer than she had in months. It's a strange thing about danger. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a room is actually the safest to be around, if their danger isn't aimed at you. It's like sitting next to a lion that's decided, for reasons of its own, to protect you from the wolves. Junie's food arrived. She ate carefully, methodically, the way people do when they've gone too long without a meal. Simone watched with those observant eyes but said nothing. When she'd finished most of it, he asked, the woman. How did she find you? Junie pushed her fork through the remaining eggs, suddenly not hungry. I don't know. I was careful. New phone. New address. Paid my deposit in cash. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Simone considered this. She has resources then. Connections. Junie thought about it. About Vanessa's father, a man she'd never met but heard about constantly. Councilman Morris. The way Vanessa talked about him, his power, his influence, how he taught her that getting what you want was just about knowing the right people. Her father's a politician, Junie admitted. Nothing changed in Simone's expression, but something shifted in the air between them. Like the stakes had just gotten higher. Then the police won't help you. Not properly. I know. Junie's voice came out tired. Defeated. I've tried. The silence stretched. Then Simone reached into his jacket pocket and slid a card across the table. Plain white. Just a phone number. No name. This reaches me directly. If she shows up again, call. Junie didn't take it right away. Why would you do this? You don't know me. No. I don't. Then why? A long pause. When Simone spoke, his voice carried weight she couldn't quite understand. Because 11 years ago, I couldn't protect someone. And I've been making up for it ever since. He didn't explain further. Junie didn't push. But there was more there. Something that lived behind his eyes. Something that haunted him. She took the card. By the time they left Moon's Corner Diner, it was past 1 a.m. The streets were quieter now. Just the occasional car, groups of late-night partiers stumbling between bars, the distant wail of a siren somewhere in the city. Simone had made a call before they left. A short conversation in Korean. When they walked outside, a different car was waiting, sleek, black, with a driver who opened the back door without a word. This is Kong, Simone said. Nothing more. Kong nodded, expression neutral. Another man who seemed to exist in Simone's orbit of careful control. They got in the back seat. Junie gave her address. Kong programmed it into the GPS and pulled away from the curb. The shift was subtle but important. A driver. More formality. A reminder that Simone operated in a different world than hers. A world with rules she didn't understand. They drove through Koreatown, past late-night barbecue places still doing business, 24-hour markets with bright lights, closed shops with security gates pulled down. 10 minutes later, they pulled up in front of her building. It wasn't much. Old brick. 6 stories. A buzzer system that worked about half the time. Home. Junie hesitated before getting out. Thank you. For tonight. I know it was weird. Unexpected, Simone said. Not weird. There was almost warmth there. Almost. She got out. Walked toward the entrance. Looked back once. The black car idled at the curb, waiting. Junie punched in her code, pushed through the front door, and waved a small goodbye. Only then did the car pull away from the curb. The elevator in Junie's building had been broken for 3 weeks. The super kept promising to fix it, but everyone knew better than to hold their breath. She climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, legs heavy with exhaustion. The hallway was dimly lit, one bulb flickering near the end. Mrs. Kim in 3B had her TV on too loud, some Korean drama with dramatic music. Mr. Peterson's cat meowed from behind his door as she passed. Normal sounds. Comforting sounds. She reached her apartment, 3F, at the end of the hall. That's when she saw it. The door was open. Just a crack. But open. Her heart stopped. Junie didn't move. Couldn't move. Every instinct screamed danger. Through the small gap in the doorway, she could see into her apartment. Could see her bed against the far wall. Could see something on her pillow. A single red rose. When someone invades your home, they're not just entering a physical space. They're violating the one place you're supposed to feel safe. Your sanctuary. That violation does something to your sense of security that's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't experienced it. Suddenly, walls don't feel like protection anymore. Locks seem pointless. Privacy becomes an illusion. Stalking experts say this kind of escalation, from watching from a distance to entering your personal space, is a dangerous sign. It shows boundaries are being deliberately crossed, testing how far they can go. Junie didn't scream. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But the sound died in her throat because this wasn't random. This wasn't a break-in for money or electronics. Vanessa had been in her apartment. Had touched her pillow. Had left a message that said, "I can reach you anywhere." Junie backed away from the door, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped her keys. And for the second time that night, she reached for a lifeline she didn't fully trust. She pulled out the card Simone had given her. Junie stared at her apartment door, the small crack between it and the frame like a scream in the quiet hallway. The rose on her pillow seemed to glow in the dim light. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out Simone's card. Plain white. Just a number. She dialed, expecting voicemail at this hour. He answered on the second ring, voice clear. Not sleeping. She was in my apartment, Junie said. No hello. No introduction. Just the raw truth, her voice breaking on the last word. Simone didn't hesitate. Don't go inside. His voice was calm. Steady. Don't touch anything. Is anyone in the hallway with you? Junie looked around. Empty. Just Mrs. Kim's TV noise down the hall. No. Nobody. Kong is coming. 20 minutes. Wait in the stairwell where you can see both directions. Simple instructions. Easy to follow when your mind couldn't think straight. Before he hung up, Simone added, "You did the right thing. Calling." 4 words. That's all. But Junie hadn't heard them in so long that her throat tightened. The stairwell smelled like old cigarettes and cleaning solution. Junie sat on the cold steps, her back against the wall, watching both up and down. Her mind kept replaying the same thought. Vanessa was in my home. Vanessa touched my things. Vanessa knows where I sleep. She was so tired. Not just from working a double shift. Tired in her bones. Tired of running. Tired of looking over her shoulder. It wasn't supposed to be like this. When Junie first met Vanessa at that campus coffee shop, she'd been charming. Interested in everything Junie said. Made her feel special in a way nobody ever had before. Brought her coffee during late study sessions. Remembered every little detail Junie mentioned. Then Grandma Lorraine died. The only family Junie had left. And Vanessa was there, holding her through the grief, handling the funeral arrangements, telling Junie's friends she needs space right now, until they stopped calling. You know what's tricky about bad relationships? They don't start bad. That's the thing people don't understand. Abuse doesn't always look like yelling or hitting. Sometimes it looks like someone caring for you so completely that you don't notice when caring turns into control. The stairwell door opened. Junie tensed, then relaxed when she saw Kong. Same neutral expression. Same efficient movements. He checked the hallway first, then her apartment, moving with quiet confidence. Empty now, he said, returning to the stairwell. Car is waiting. Mr. Park says to come with me. What about the police? Junie asked. He's handling it. Someone will come to you. Better than you going to them. She didn't understand what that meant, but she followed him downstairs anyway. Detective Reyes arrived at 3:14 a.m., knocking softly on the car window where Junie waited with Kong. She was maybe 40. With tired eyes and practical clothes. Not what Junie expected. Miss Faxon? I'm Detective Reyes. Mind if we take a look at your apartment? Back upstairs, Detective Reyes worked methodically. Taking photos. Dusting for prints. Asking questions in a voice that didn't judge or dismiss. But even as she worked, her expression told Junie what she already knew. There's no sign of forced entry, Detective Reyes said, examining the lock. The lock is old. Easy to pick. I believe you, the detective said, and Junie could tell she meant it. But without direct evidence it was her, without witnesses. What am I supposed to do? The question burst out of Junie, raw and frustrated. Detective Reyes sighed. Document everything. If she contacts you directly, save it. If you see her, call 911. I'll flag your address for priority response. It was something. It wasn't enough. After the police left, taking the rose as evidence, Junie sat alone in her apartment. The rose was gone. But she could still feel its presence. Like a stain she couldn't wash out. She didn't sleep. The legal system has a big gap when it comes to stalking. Without direct threats or physical harm, it's incredibly hard to get help. Most stalking victims report to police multiple times before action is taken, if it ever is. It's like having to prove the fire before anyone will help you put it out. Morning light streamed through Junie's curtains, making dust particles dance in the air. She forced herself to shower. To eat a piece of toast that tasted like cardboard. Her phone buzzed. Text from Maya, her coworker. You okay? Vanessa came back after you left. Asked where you went. I said I didn't know. She looked mad. Junie stared at the message. Vanessa came back. Vanessa asked questions. Vanessa was looking for her. Before she could reply, another text. Unknown number. This is Park Simone. Detective Reyes will follow up. If you need a different place to stay, I can arrange it. No strings. No expectations. Your choice. Junie read it 3 times. Your choice. When was the last time someone had given her options without making it feel like a trick question? She typed back, "I need to think." His response came quickly, "Take the time you need. The offer stands." Sometimes making your own choices feels strange after someone has been making them for you. It's like a muscle that's gotten weak from lack of use. The first few decisions feel shaky, uncertain. But it's the only way to rebuild that strength. Junie put down her phone and looked around her apartment. Same walls. Same furniture. Same life she'd been building for 8 months. But it didn't feel like hers anymore. Vanessa had walked these floors. Touched these things. Left that rose like signing her name. And somewhere out there, Vanessa was waiting. Planning. Watching. Junie had 3 choices: run again, hide and hope, or accept help from a man whose world operated outside the rules she understood. She didn't know which one would save her. She didn't know which one would cost her everything. Saturday afternoon came way too fast. Junie stood in front of Crescent Moon Restaurant, staring at the entrance. Her body felt heavy, like she was moving underwater. 3 hours of sleep wasn't enough to erase the memory of that rose on her pillow. She pushed through the door, tying her apron as Maya looked up from rolling silverware. "Holy crap," Maya said, eyes widening. "You look terrible." "Thanks." Just what every girl wants to hear. "Seriously, what happened?" Junie shrugged, avoiding eye contact. "Bad night." "I'm fine." "You don't look fine. You look like you've seen a ghost." If only it was just a ghost, Junie thought. The first hour was rough. Every time the door opened, Junie's heart jumped. Every woman with blonde hair made her freeze mid-step. Every corner she turned, she half expected to see Vanessa waiting. Then he walked in. Park Simone. Same black suit. Same careful movements. He didn't look at her directly. Didn't approach. Just took his regular spot in booth 7 and opened his menu like it was any other day. And somehow, knowing he was there, that someone who understood the situation was watching, made it easier to breathe. It's strange how safety works. We're taught to look for it in official places, police stations, security systems, well-lit streets. But sometimes, safety shows up in unexpected forms. Sometimes it's just knowing someone else sees the danger you're facing. The next few days fell into a pattern. Sunday morning, Junie spotted Kang's car parked across from her bus stop. Not obvious, but there if you knew to look. She texted Simone, "Your driver is outside my building." His response came quickly, "Precaution. He'll keep distance if you prefer." She stared at the message. She should say yes. Should tell him to back off. Should handle this herself. She didn't reply. Sunday afternoon shift, Simone in booth 7. Reading something on a tablet. Staying 3 hours, longer than usual. Monday morning, Chef Yoon acting strange when Junie arrived. Maya pulled her aside during break. "Someone sent you flowers yesterday." "No card." "What? When?" "After your shift." Yoon threw them out. Said he had a bad feeling. Junie's hands turned cold. Monday evening, her neighbor Mrs. Patel mentioned a nice young woman asking about Junie's schedule. Said she wanted to surprise you. "I told her I didn't know when you work." "Was that wrong?" "No," Junie said, throat tight. "That was exactly right." Tuesday morning, a message request on Instagram. New account. 0 posts. Profile picture, the little Italian restaurant where Vanessa used to take Junie for their monthly special dates. Delete. Block. Tuesday afternoon, Simone in booth 7 again. This time with a man Junie hadn't seen before. They spoke in low voices, papers spread between them. The pattern was clear. Vanessa was circling, testing boundaries, sending reminders. I can reach you anywhere. I'm still watching. And Simone was watching too. Never intruding. Never imposing. Just present. Tuesday night, 9:17 p.m. Junie's shift finally ended. She lingered, helping Maya restock salt shakers, wiping down already clean tables, anything to delay walking outside into the dark. The restaurant was nearly empty. Just a couple finishing dessert and Simone, still in booth 7, working on his phone. Chef Yoon approached her, wiping his hands on his apron. That man. He paid your tab. Junie blinked. I don't have a tab. He paid for meals. Yours. For the next month. Yoon shook his head. First time in 15 years someone does this. I tell him we don't do that. He says we do now. Junie looked over at booth 7. Then walked straight to it. You paid for my food. Simone looked up from his phone. You weren't eating. I noticed. That's not, she took a breath. I can take care of myself. I don't doubt it. Then why? Because sometimes accepting help isn't weakness. It's strategy. His words caught her off guard. Junie sat down across from him without asking. He didn't seem to mind. I don't understand you, she admitted. I keep waiting for the catch. There isn't one. There's always a catch. Simone considered this, setting his phone down. You've learned that lesson hard. I understand. But not every door opens onto a trap. Some are just doors. Silence stretched between them. The couple at the other table left, leaving just them and the staff. I can't keep living like this, Junie finally said. Jumping at shadows. Waiting for her to show up. Then stop waiting. How? Let me help you. Properly. Not just watching from across the room. When someone has controlled your life, making your own choices feel scary. You second guess yourself. Wonder if you're trading one form of control for another. It's like learning to walk again after a bad injury. You don't trust your own legs to hold you. What does properly mean? Junie asked, watching his face carefully. Simone laid it out plainly. There's a safe house. Neutral location. You can stay there while we assess the situation. I have people who can find out how she located you, what resources she's using, what her next move might be. Junie's hesitation must have shown on her face. And what do you get out of this? She asked. Nothing. No one does something for nothing. Something flickered across Simone's face, a flash of pain, quickly controlled. It was the most emotion she'd seen from him. 11 years ago, my sister was in a situation like yours. Someone who wouldn't let go. Someone with connections. I was too young, too powerless to help. By the time I had resources. His voice tightened. It was too late. He met her eyes directly. I couldn't save her. I can't save the past. But I can make sure the same thing doesn't happen to someone else. Not on my watch. It was the most he'd said. The most he'd revealed of himself. Junie saw something unexpected beneath all that control, vulnerability. Real, human vulnerability. I'm not your sister. No. You're not. And I'm not trying to replace her. I'm trying to do better than I did before. Junie left the restaurant that night without giving an answer. She needed to think. Needed to weigh the risks, accepting help from a stranger, a dangerous man, someone whose world operated on rules she didn't understand. But as she walked toward the bus stop, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. She answered. Hello, Junie. Vanessa's voice was silk and venom. I saw you talking to him. The man in the suit. Is he your new thing now? Your protector? Junie couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. He can't protect you, baby. No one can. Because you belong to me. And I'm coming to remind you of that. The line went dead. And Junie realized she was out of time. Abusers often escalate when they feel they're losing control. It's like an extinction burst, a psychological term for when behavior intensifies right before it stops. The problem is, with abusive relationships, that burst can be dangerous. That's why having support systems is so crucial. No one should have to face that extinction burst alone. Wednesday morning started like any other. Junie woke up exhausted. Checked her locks 3 times. Made coffee she couldn't taste. Walked to the bus stop 2 blocks from her apartment. She was thinking about Simone's offer. Thinking about how crazy it was to consider. Thinking about what her grandmother would say if she knew Junie was even contemplating accepting help from a man like that. She was so busy thinking that she almost didn't notice the white BMW pulling up to the curb. Almost. Okay, real talk for a second. Stories like this take forever to research, write, and produce. And the only way I know people actually care is when they hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. So if you're new here, or if you've been watching for a while and forgot to subscribe, now's the time. Smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Are you Team Simone? Do you think Junie should trust him? Let me know. Okay. Let's get back to that BMW. Because what happens next changes everything. The car door opened, and there she was. Vanessa. Perfect makeup. Hairstyle just right. Wearing that cream-colored pantsuit that made her look professional and put together. The outfit screamed, concerned friend rather than stalker who breaks into apartments. That was always her talent. Looking good for the audience. Junie. Baby. Can we talk? Junie glanced around. An elderly man with a newspaper. A mother with a stroller. Witnesses. Of course Vanessa would approach her here, where making a scene would make Junie look crazy, not her. We have nothing to talk about, Junie said, proud that her voice didn't shake even though her hands did. Please. I just want to understand what happened. You left without even. I left because I needed to leave. Vanessa stepped closer, her smile never wavering. You're confused. I get it. It was a hard time. Your grandmother passing, all that stress. I forgive you. Junie almost laughed. She recognized the game now. How had she not seen it before? The way Vanessa turned everything around, making Junie's actions the problem, offering forgiveness like a gift Junie should be grateful for. I don't need your forgiveness. Then what do you need? Vanessa's voice dropped so only Junie could hear. Because I've been patient. I've given you space. But you're embarrassing me now. Running around with some Korean gangster like you've forgotten who you are. I know exactly who I am. Do you? For just a second, Vanessa's mask slipped. Something cold and ugly flashed in her eyes. Because that man can't help you. My father has connections you can't imagine. One phone call and your life gets very complicated. Immigration sweeps at your workplace. Health code violations. Your apartment building suddenly facing code enforcement. Junie felt the blood drain from her face. You wouldn't. I don't want to. I love you. I just want you to come home. When someone who has hurt you says, I love you, it's not about love. It's about control. Real love doesn't threaten. It doesn't damage. It doesn't make your world smaller. Before Junie could answer, a black sedan pulled up behind Vanessa's BMW. Kong stepped out first. Then Simone. He didn't charge over. Didn't yell. He simply walked up and stood beside Junie, placing himself between her and Vanessa. Miss Faxon. Are you all right? His voice was calm, like this was just a normal Wednesday morning conversation. Vanessa's smile froze on her face. This wasn't in her script. This is a private conversation, she said, voice tight. It was. Now it isn't. You don't know who you're dealing with. Simone didn't raise his voice. Didn't change his expression. I know exactly who you are. And I know exactly who your father is. Councilman Morris, District 7. Up for re-election in 14 months. Currently under investigation for campaign finance irregularities, though that's not public knowledge yet. The color drained from Vanessa's face. I also know about the 3 other women who filed complaints against you before Junie. Sealed records, but records nonetheless. Would your father's campaign survive that story breaking? I wonder. You're bluffing. I don't bluff. The bus stop went quiet. The other people pretended really hard not to be listening. Vanessa took a step back. Then another. This isn't over. Yes. It is. She got in her car and drove away, tires squealing. Junie realized she'd been holding her breath so long her chest hurt. In the back of Simone's car, Junie couldn't stop her hands from shaking. How did you know all that? She asked. About her father? About the other women? I told you I have resources. After Saturday night, I used them. You investigated her? I investigated the threat against you. There's a difference. Junie looked out the window, watching the city pass by. The stuff about the investigation, her father, was that true? Every word. You were going to use it against her? Only if necessary. Information is leverage. Leverage prevents violence. There's something important here that many people don't understand. In dangerous situations, knowledge is protection. Knowing who has power and where that power has weak spots, that's sometimes the only weapon that works when the system fails you. Junie turned to look at Simone. Really looked at him. You could have let things get ugly back there. Could have let it get messy. That's not how I operate. How do you operate? Carefully. Precisely. With just enough force to solve the problem. She paused, then asked, why? Because of your sister? He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter than usual. Because violence is easy. Anyone can break things. Building something, protecting something, that's harder. The safe house wasn't what Junie expected. No high-tech fortress. Just a normal-looking apartment building with a brick front and a buzzer system that actually worked. The kind of place you'd walk past without looking twice. Inside, the apartment was clean and simple. 2 bedrooms. A kitchen with basic stuff. Windows with good views of the street. Simone showed her around, pointing out the security, reinforced locks, cameras in the hallway, a panic button that connected directly to his security team. You'll be safe here. My people take shifts outside. No one gets close without us knowing. Junie sat on the couch, suddenly feeling how tired she really was. What happens now? Now you rest. Work if you want, I can have Kong drive you. But your apartment, the bus stops, the routes Vanessa knows, those places aren't safe anymore. And then what? I hide here forever? No. We gather enough information to stop the threat for good. Legal ways if possible. Other methods if not. What does other methods mean? Simone met her eyes directly. It means Vanessa Morris will understand that coming after you would cost her more than she's willing to pay. Not through violence. Through consequences. Exposing her behavior. Applying pressure where it hurts. That sounds cold. It is. Cold and effective. Would you prefer warm and useless? Despite everything, Junie almost smiled. That night, Junie slept in a bed that wasn't hers, in an apartment protected by a man she barely knew, in a life that had completely derailed from anything she'd planned. But for the first time in weeks, she slept without nightmares. She didn't know yet that Vanessa was already planning her next move. She didn't know yet that someone inside Simone's organization was feeding information to the enemy. And she didn't know yet that the man who promised to protect her was hiding secrets of his own, secrets that would force her to question everything she thought she understood about safety, about trust, and about what it means to let someone in. The legal system has huge gaps when it comes to stalking. Police often can't act until something happens, which is way too late. That's why many victims end up creating their own safety plans. Sometimes that means leaving town. Sometimes it means staying with friends. And sometimes it means accepting help from unexpected places. There's no perfect solution, only the one that keeps you alive. The safe house felt strange at first. Not because anything was wrong with it, actually, just the opposite. It felt strange to Junie because nothing felt wrong. No need to check the locks 12 times. No jumping at every little sound in the hallway. No sleeping with one eye open. She'd been living with fear for so long that safety felt weird. On Wednesday night, she walked through each room, noticing small details. The kitchen had actual food, not just her usual ramen and cereal. The bathroom had fancy soap. The living room had a TV that didn't require hitting the side to make the picture stop jumping. When she opened the fridge, she found her favorite coffee creamer, the hazelnut one she splurged on sometimes. How did they know? Simone visited briefly that first evening, just to check if she needed anything. The security team has a rotation schedule. Someone is always watching the building, he explained, standing near the door like he didn't want to intrude. Kong will drive you to work tomorrow if you want. I can take the bus. You could. But the bus routes you normally take are compromised. Junie nodded. Made sense. There's a laptop on the desk, he added. Wi-Fi password is on the sticky note. In case you want to connect with friends. Let them know you're safe. After he left, she found books on the coffee table. Legal thrillers. Mysteries. Her favorites. Another detail someone had noticed. Little gestures often tell us more about people than big declarations. It's easy to say the right words. It's harder to notice the small things that matter to someone else. The coffee they like. The books they read. The way they take their tea. Those details require attention. And attention is a form of care. Thursday went by in a blur. Work felt normal, except for Kong waiting outside in the car. Maya kept shooting her curious looks. "Girl, what is going on?" she finally asked during their break. "You're acting weird. You've got some silent bodyguard dude outside, and mystery man from booth 7 keeps watching the door like he owns the place." Junie shrugged. "It's complicated." "Complicated like how?" "Like witness protection complicated? Like secret girlfriend complicated? Like I can't talk about it complicated." Maya frowned. "Are you in trouble?" "Not anymore," Junie said. And she meant it. Later that night, after the dinner rush ended, Chef Yoon called her to the kitchen. "VIP request. Booth 7. He handed her a steaming plate of japchae. "Take it personally." Junie walked to booth 7, where Simone sat working on a tablet. He looked up when she approached. "Your japchae," she said, setting it down. "Thank you." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit. If you have a moment." She glanced back at the other tables. Maya caught her eye and nodded, mouthing, "I got you." Junie sat down. "How's the apartment?" he asked. "Good. Really good. Thank you for the books." Something flickered across his face, a brief, almost shy look. "I wasn't sure what you'd like." "Legal thrillers are perfect, actually. I used to want to be a lawyer." "What stopped you?" The question was simple but hit hard. What had stopped her? Money, sure. But also Vanessa, who had called her dreams cute and suggested maybe Junie wasn't cut out for that kind of pressure. "Life, I guess," she said finally. "Maybe I'll go back someday." "You should." He said it like it was obvious. There are scholarships for returning students. Flexible programs. Night classes. Junie tilted her head, studying him. "Is that why you have those books at the apartment? Trying to inspire me?" That shy look again, quickly controlled. "You noticed." "I noticed things too, you know." For the first time, a real smile crossed his face, small, but genuine. It changed him completely. Made him look younger. More human. They talked for 20 more minutes. Not about Vanessa or danger or protection. About other things. He told her about dreaming of being an architect as a kid. How he still kept his old sketches. She told him about her grandmother's lessons, how to make sweet potato pie, how to spot a liar, how to stand up straight even when you felt like crumbling. It wasn't a deep conversation. Just normal. And normal felt like the biggest luxury in the world. Trust isn't built in grand moments. It's built in small conversations. In finding out someone used to draw buildings. In sharing stories about your grandmother's cooking. In moments that have nothing to do with the crisis that brought you together. Friday afternoon, Junie was surprised by a knock at the safe house door. The security system showed Simone standing outside. She opened the door, expecting his usual calm expression. Instead, he looked different. Still controlled, still proper, but something was off. Like a stone wall with a hairline crack running through it. "November 15th, he said as he stepped inside. "Today." Junie waited, not understanding. "The anniversary of my sister's death." Understanding washed over her. This wasn't a professional visit. "Do you want to sit?" she asked quietly. He nodded, moving to the couch. For once, he didn't look like the powerful, untouchable man who commanded respect with just his presence. He looked like someone carrying a weight that never got lighter. Slowly, carefully, he told her the full story. His sister, Park Soo-jin, had been 23. Studying medicine. Brilliant, everyone said. She had a boyfriend who seemed perfect on paper, charming, successful, well-connected. But behind closed doors, he was controlling. Jealous. Slowly cutting her off from family. I saw the signs, Simone said, looking at his hands. I was 19, already taking over my father's business after his stroke. I tried to talk to her. She told me to trust her. Said she had it under control. His voice tightened. 2 weeks later, they found her in her apartment. Official ruling was an accidental fall. Everyone knew it wasn't. What happened? His family had connections. Investigators were paid. Evidence disappeared. He finally looked up, meeting Junie's eyes. I couldn't protect her. I had money. I had people. But I didn't act fast enough. I trusted that she knew what she was doing. It wasn't your fault, Junie said quietly. Wasn't it? His voice had an edge now. I had the power to remove her from that situation. I didn't use it because I respected her autonomy. And she died. Junie saw it clearly now, the impossible balance he'd been trying to find with her. Between protecting her and controlling her. Between offering safety and taking away choice. What happened to the boyfriend? She asked. Simone's expression went cold. He left the country. Permanently. That's all I'll say. The room felt heavy with his grief, with the weight of decisions made and unmade. Survivor's guilt is one of the cruelest burdens. When someone you love is hurt, your mind creates endless scenarios where you could have prevented it. Should have seen it coming. Should have done more. The truth is, we can never fully protect the people we care about. We can only do our best with what we know at the time. After a while, the conversation shifted. Became mutual. Junie told him about her grandmother. About growing up in Oakland. About how she stayed with Vanessa for 2 years even though deep down she knew something was wrong, because admitting she'd chosen wrong felt like failing. It's not failure, Simone said. Abusers are skilled at hiding who they are until you're too deep to see clearly. You sound like a therapist. I've paid for enough of them. Almost a joke. From him, that was something. Junie realized, sitting there with him, that she felt comfortable. With this man who commanded criminal enterprises, who spoke in careful measured phrases, who carried grief like armor. She felt seen. And that feeling scared her more than anything Vanessa could do. By Friday evening, something had shifted between them. Not romance, not yet. Romance requires readiness, and neither of them were ready for anything close to that. But trust. Real trust. The kind that's harder to earn than love. Junie didn't know that while they were building this fragile bridge, someone was already planting explosives underneath it. Seo Jun had made a call that morning. To an unknown number. A short conversation. I have information you'll want. About Park Simone's new weakness. And on the other end of the line, Vanessa Morris smiled. There's a big difference between healthy protection and controlling behavior. Protection respects boundaries. It offers options. It recognizes the other person's agency. Control disguises itself as protection but takes away choices. It creates dependency instead of safety. Learning to tell the difference is one of the hardest lessons, and one many of us have to learn through painful experience. Vanessa Morris had never been a person who took losing well. Even as a child, board games ended with flip tables if the score wasn't in her favor. In college, she'd gotten a professor fired for giving her a B+. Now, sitting in her father's office on Saturday morning, she tapped manicured nails against the polished desk and thought about Park Simone's face at the bus stop. The calm certainty in his voice when he mentioned her father's campaign finance irregularities. He knew things, she said to the empty room. Things he shouldn't know. Which meant he had sources. Information. Power. So she needed her own source inside. Vanessa picked up her phone and scrolled to a name she'd been given 3 days ago, Seo-Jun Park. Not related to Simone, but close enough to be family. His second in command. His most trusted person. And according to her source, a man with a very specific weakness. In the world of manipulation, there's something called an access agent, someone who can get you close to your actual target. The most valuable access agents are those with emotional vulnerabilities. Unrequited love. Jealousy. Resentment. These emotions create blind spots that skilled manipulators can exploit. Seo-Jun had been by Simone's side for 15 years. They met at 19, when Simone was just taking over his father's businesses. Seo-Jun was the son of an associate, smart and loyal and willing to learn. They built everything together. Went through hell together. Survived together. For Seo-Jun, it had been more than loyalty from the beginning. He'd watched Simone grow from a grief-stricken young man into someone powerful. Someone respected. Someone who carried the world on his shoulders without showing the strain. Seo-Jun had made peace with the fact that his feelings would never be returned. Simone had closed himself off after his sister's death. Professional relationships. Nothing more. That was the rule. And then this waitress appeared. This woman Simone had known for all of 3 days. And suddenly, Simone was different. Making personal visits to the safe house. Actually smiling sometimes. It shouldn't hurt this much. But it did. I'm just being careful, Seo-Jun told himself as he dug into Juni's background. Making sure she's not a threat. The jealousy beneath was harder to justify. When the call came through an associate he trusted, suggesting a meeting about mutual interests, Seo-Jun told himself he was just gathering information. Just protecting Simone. The meeting happened in a coffee shop downtown. The woman was professional, direct. My employer just wants information. Where she's staying. That's all. No one gets hurt. Seo-Jun didn't believe it. Not really. But he found himself nodding anyway. I'll think about it. He already knew he would do more than think. Sunday afternoon, Juni noticed the change. Minho, who usually handled the 2 to 8 p.m. security shift, was replaced by someone new. Young guy. Early 20s. Nervous energy. When Simone visited that evening, she mentioned it. The security team rotated today. New guy on afternoon shift. Personnel adjustment, Simone said, pouring tea at the kitchen counter. Standard procedure. Does that happen often? He paused, cup halfway to his lips. Occasionally. Why? The new guard. He watches me differently. Not protective. More observational. Something flickered across Simone's face. Something close to concern. I'll look into it. What he didn't tell her was about the quiet doubts forming in his mind. Small inconsistencies he'd been noticing. Reports that didn't quite align. Information that seemed to reach Vanessa too quickly. Betrayal rarely comes from strangers. It comes from the people closest to you, the ones you trust so completely that you never think to question them. The ones who know exactly where your weak points are. The ones who can hurt you most deeply because you've given them access to your vulnerable places. By Monday, the pressure was coming from all sides. Junie arrived at work to find health inspectors combing through the kitchen. Chef Yoon was furious, barking orders at staff while they pulled out every piece of equipment. Third inspection this year, Maya whispered. Yoon thinks someone called them in. The message was clear. Vanessa's father was flexing his municipal muscles. During her break, Junie's phone rang. Her landlord. Miss Faxon, we've received some concerns regarding your lease compliance. What concerns? I've paid rent on time every month. Yes, well, there are questions about unauthorized occupants. Suspicious activity. We may need to review your lease status. Vague threats. Just enough to let her know her housing wasn't secure. After work, Maya pulled her aside. Some woman's been showing your picture at businesses around here. Asking questions. Saying she's a worried friend. The walls were closing in. That night, back at the safe house, Junie sat on the couch staring at nothing. Not crying. Something worse. Empty. Like she'd used up all her emotions and had nothing left. She won't stop, she said when Simone arrived to check on her. She'll never stop. Her family has too much power. He sat beside her. Not touching, respecting her space. But present. Power is temporary, he said quietly. Every powerful person has vulnerabilities. We find hers and we use them. And if we can't, then we disappear you properly. New name. New city. New identity. I have resources for that too. Junie shook her head. I won't run again. I can't spend my whole life running. Then we fight. How? Simone looked at her directly. Something resolving in his expression. I'd been waiting. Gathering information. Building a case. But you're right, we're out of time. Tomorrow, I meet with someone who can help. A journalist. Someone Vanessa's father can't silence. You're going to expose her? I'm going to give her a choice, back off permanently, or watch her entire family's reputation burn. The stalking. The threats. The other victims. All of it. The plan should have made Junie feel better. Instead, a cold feeling spread through her chest. What if it makes things worse? It might, Simone admitted. Short term. But this ends one way or another. You deserve to live without looking over your shoulder. For a moment, Junie saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Something beyond professional concern or obligation. Something that made her heart beat faster. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it, face returning to its careful neutral expression. I need to go. Security shift change. Try to get some rest. After he left, Junie tried to imagine a life without fear. A life where she didn't jump at shadows. A life where she could just be. It seemed impossible. But for the first time in months, it also seemed possible. The decision between fighting and fleeing is never simple. Running means starting over, leaving behind parts of yourself, living with the knowledge that you were driven away. Fighting means risk, the possibility of escalation, of things getting worse before, or if they get better. There's no universal right answer. There's only the choice that lets you live with yourself afterward. Across town, in the quiet back office of Simone's import business, Seo Jun was working late. Or pretending to. He'd positioned himself near Simone's office, close enough to hear the conversation with Minho about tomorrow's journalist meeting. Close enough to catch details about the exposure strategy. When Simone left, Seo-jun waited 10 minutes. Then made the call. A woman's voice answered. Cold. Controlled. Yes. He's planning to go public. Tomorrow. Meeting a journalist. If you want to stop it, you need to move tonight. Where is she? The safe house address. Seo-jun's hand tightened around the phone. This was the line. Once he crossed it, there was no going back. But all he could see was Simone's face when he talked about Junie. That softness. That openness he'd never shown to Seo-jun in 15 years of loyalty. I'll text you the location. But no violence. You promised. Of course, Vanessa said, voice smooth as glass. I just want to talk to her. She ended the call. Seo-jun stared at his phone. Told himself it would be fine. Just a conversation between two people with history. He was protecting Simone from a bad decision. Protecting the organization from unwanted exposure. He sent the address. And tried to ignore the voice in his head saying he'd just made a terrible mistake. At 11:47 p.m., Junie woke to the sound of the front door opening. She reached for her phone. The screen glowed, no new messages. The security team outside hadn't alerted her. Which meant whoever was entering had access. She slipped out of bed. Grabbed the lamp, the only heavy object nearby. Pressed herself against the wall. Footsteps in the hallway. And then a voice she knew too well. Junie. I know you're awake. Let's talk. Just us. Like old times. Vanessa had found her. And somewhere across town, Simone's phone buzzed with a silent alarm, a breach at the safe house, just as a car with no headlights pulled up behind him. They weren't just coming for Junie. They were coming for him too. Systems that should protect people are often used against them. Abusers with connections can weaponize everything from health inspections to housing regulations to police reports. This is why many victims don't report. They know the system can be turned against them. It's not enough to tell people to use the system. Sometimes we need to acknowledge that the system itself is part of the problem. At 11:47 p.m., Junie stood perfectly still against her bedroom wall, lamp clutched in white-knuckled hands, listening to footsteps moving through the safe house. Junie. I know you're awake. Let's talk. Just us. Like old times. Vanessa's voice was so familiar. The gentle lilt at the end of sentences. The way she stretched Junie's name into 2 syllables. Once, that voice had made Junie feel special. Now it made her skin crawl. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, backlit by the hallway light. She looked normal. Jeans and a sweater. Hair pulled back. Like she was stopping by for coffee, not breaking into a secured apartment in the middle of the night. You look scared, Vanessa said, tilting her head. That hurts, you know. After everything we meant to each other. How did you get in? Junie's voice sounded steadier than she felt. Friends in the right places. Vanessa smiled. Did you really think some gangster security could keep me out? My father's people are everywhere. Junie's mind raced. The panic button was in the nightstand drawer. 10 feet away. Might as well be a mile. What do you want? I want you to come home. This isn't about love. Isn't it? Vanessa stepped closer. I think about you constantly. I can't eat. Can't sleep. Every minute of every day, you're all I see. Junie saw it clearly now. What she couldn't see before. This wasn't love. This was obsession. Ownership. The inability to accept that something she considered hers didn't want to be possessed. That's not love, Vanessa. That's control. There's a difference. Vanessa's expression hardened. The mask slipped, just for a moment. Don't you dare lecture me. You think that man cares about you? He collects broken people because it makes him feel powerful. You're a project to him. A mission. Once he's done playing hero, he'll discard you like everyone else. Maybe. But at least he gives me the choice to leave. Something shifted in Vanessa's eyes. Her hand moved toward her jacket. Choices have consequences, Junie. Obsession masquerades as love, but they're fundamentally different. Love wants the other person to thrive, even separately. Obsession needs to possess, to control. When someone talks about you like you're a thing they own rather than a person they care for, that's not devotion, that's danger. Across town, Simone was driving when he noticed the car behind him. No headlights. Moving with too much precision to be random. His phone buzzed. The silent alarm from the safe house. Breach. He tried Junie. No answer. He tried Kong. No answer. He tried Seo Jun, voicemail. The car behind accelerated, pulling alongside. Window rolling down. Simone recognized the men inside, not Vanessa's people directly, but connected. Hired muscle. Professional. He didn't panic. Instead of speeding up, he slowed. Turned down a side street. Stopped the car. Stepped out. You have one chance to walk away, he said, voice calm. The lead man laughed. Mr. Park. Someone's paying good money to have a conversation with you. You can come quietly, or... Simone's phone rang. He answered without looking away from the men. Kang's voice came through, urgent, sir. The safe house. Junie. I know. I'm handling something. Get there now. He ended the call and addressed the men again. Here's what happens next. Either you tell me who sent you and walk away with your teeth, or I make calls that ensure your families know exactly where you are when the police find you. You're outnumbered. Am I? Footsteps sounded behind them. 6 men emerged from the shadows. Simone's people, positioned in advance. Always prepared. The hired muscle froze. We were just supposed to talk to you. Keep you busy. Give them time. Time for what? Silence. Simone's voice went cold. Who gave up the safe house location? One of the men glanced at his partner, then back to Simone. Your guy. Seo Jun said you were making a mistake with this woman. The name hit Simone like ice water. 15 years of loyalty. And now this. Back at the safe house, Junie made her move. She threw the lamp at Vanessa, not to hit her, but to distract. In the confusion, she lunged for her phone on the nightstand and ran. Out the door. Down the stairs. Into the street. She hit Simone's number. It rang. No answer. She ran anyway, bare feet slapping against cold pavement, lungs burning. But Vanessa had backup. A black SUV idled at the end of the block. Men stepping out. Junie turned. Another car behind her. Blocked both ways. She fought. Screamed. Attracted attention, A couple across the street started filming with their phones. Someone yelled to call 911. But before help arrived, strong hands grabbed her. A cloth pressed against her face. The world went dark. When she next opened her eyes, she was in a warehouse. Cold concrete floor. Hands bound behind her. Head pounding. Vanessa sat in a folding chair across from her, one leg crossed over the other, scrolling through her phone. See? This is what happens when you make things difficult. In his office, Simone studied the warehouse location on the screen. His people had tracked the vehicles. The property belonged to a shipping company with ties to Councilman Morris. But there was a problem. If he went in with force, it would become a crime scene. Kidnapping charges could fall on him, not Vanessa, if the story got spun right. The councilman had lawyers. Media contacts. Police on payroll. The door opened. Seo Jun stood there, face bruised. Simone's men had found him. I didn't know they would take her, Seo Jun said, voice ragged. I just wanted. You wanted what? Simone's voice was deadly quiet. Seo Jun couldn't meet his eyes. I wanted you to see her for what she is. A distraction. A weakness. And you betrayed me to prove that point. I betrayed you because you were never going to see me. The words exploded out of him. 15 years of silence finally breaking. Simone's expression didn't change. Not a flicker. But something in his eyes went very still. We'll discuss this later. If you want any chance of redemption, you'll tell me exactly how many people are in that warehouse and where Junie is being held. Seo Jun provided the information. It was the only thing he could offer. When he finished, Simone made a call. Not to his men with weapons. To the journalist he'd planned to meet tomorrow. To Detective Reyes. To 3 news stations. I'm sending you evidence. Kidnapping in progress. Councilman Morris's daughter. Armed men at a warehouse his company owns. Film everything. Then he drove to the warehouse. Alone. When systems of power protect abusers, sometimes the only weapon is visibility. Darkness enables abuse. Light exposes it. This is why documentation matters, why witnesses matter. The thing abusers fear most isn't punishment, it's exposure. It's having their carefully constructed public image shattered. In the warehouse, Vanessa paced back and forth. I don't understand why you're making this so complicated, she said. We were happy. No, Junie said, feeling strangely calm despite everything. You were happy. I was surviving. That's dramatic. I gave you everything. You gave me things I never asked for, then used them as reasons I should stay. That's not giving. That's trapping. Vanessa's phone buzzed. She checked it, face paling. What's wrong? Junie asked. Nothing, Vanessa snapped, but her hands shook as she made a call. Dad? We have a problem. Junie heard sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Vanessa's voice rose. What do you mean you can't fix it? You always fix it. Something was happening. Something that scared Vanessa. The warehouse door opened. Simone walked in, alone and unarmed. Behind him, police sirens were approaching. News vans were on the way. The story was already breaking. Vanessa heard the sirens too. Her mask finally cracked completely. You called the press? The police? I told you, Simone said, his voice steady. I don't bluff. Every word I said at that bus stop was true. Every piece of evidence I have is now in the hands of people your father can't silence. You've destroyed me. No. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. And across the warehouse, tied to a chair but no longer afraid, Junie Faxon looked at the man who had just sacrificed his anonymity, his protection, his carefully built shadows, to save her in the light. She understood now. This wasn't about his sister. Not entirely. This was about him choosing, finally, to be the person he wished he'd been 11 years ago. Even if it cost him everything. We often think power means force, the ability to overwhelm opposition. But sometimes the most powerful choice is vulnerability. Stepping into the light. Accepting that your own safety might be compromised for something more important. Real strength isn't about being invulnerable. It's about knowing what you're willing to be vulnerable for. The police arrived at 1:47 a.m. By 2:30 a.m., the warehouse was surrounded by news cameras. By 3 a.m., Councilman Morris was fielding calls from reporters asking about his daughter's arrest for kidnapping. By sunrise, Vanessa Morris was in custody. And Junie Faxon, for the first time in years, was free. Really, truly free. But freedom, as she was about to learn, comes with its own complicated questions. Like, what do you do with a life when you're no longer running? Where do you go when danger stops chasing you? And what do you owe the person who saved you? So if you haven't already, take a second and smash that subscribe button. And if you've been subscribed for a while, hit that notification bell so you never miss a story like this. Also, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Tell me, did you see Seo Jun's betrayal coming? Were you surprised? And most importantly, are you satisfied with how this ends? Let me know. Okay. Let's finish this story. Junie and Simone deserve their ending. The warehouse buzzed with activity. Police officers taking photos. Paramedics checking Junie's wrists where the restraints had left marks. Detective Reyes stood nearby, notebook open, waiting patiently. Through the glass doors at the entrance, Junie could see the flashing lights of news vans. Cameras. People with microphones. All focused on the scandal unfolding, a councilman's daughter caught in the act of kidnapping. You're going to need to give a statement, Detective Reyes said gently. When you're ready. Junie nodded, wrapping the shock blanket tighter around her shoulders. What happens to Vanessa? Kidnapping charges. Assault. Her father's lawyers will try to minimize, but the evidence is overwhelming. Detective Reyes looked up from her notebook. Plus, you're not the only one pressing charges now. What do you mean? Those other complaints. The sealed records Mr. Park mentioned. Those women are coming forward. The publicity broke something open. Junie looked across the warehouse where Simone stood talking to another officer. His suit was wrinkled. Dark circles under his eyes. But his back was straight, his voice steady. He'd risked everything. His anonymity. His carefully constructed shadows. The protection that came from staying invisible. For her. At the police station, the questions seemed endless. What was her relationship with Vanessa Morris? How long had the harassment continued? Had there been previous incidents? Who had access to the safe house? Junie answered everything. Her voice grew hoarse, but she kept going. This time, unlike all the previous times she'd tried to report Vanessa, people were listening. Through the interrogation room's window, she could see Simone in another room. He'd been there as long as she had, giving his own statement. Explaining his involvement. His businesses. His connection to Junie. Around dawn, Detective Reyes brought coffee. He's been cooperating fully, she said, noticing Junie watching Simone. Turned over security footage. Call logs. Everything we asked for. Is he in trouble? Detective Reyes hesitated. It's complicated. Some of his businesses operate in gray areas. But right now, he's a witness helping with a kidnapping case. That buys some goodwill. He saved my life. I know. But there will be questions. About both of you. The media loves this kind of story. Junie hadn't thought about that part. How this would look to the outside world. A waitress. A crime boss. A politician's daughter. The headlines practically wrote themselves. When abuse becomes public, it also becomes a story people feel entitled to opinions about. Suddenly your trauma isn't just yours anymore, it's content. Commentary. Everyone wants to know why you stayed, why you left, what you should have done differently. It's another way victims lose control of their own narratives. By noon, they were finally released. The sunlight outside the station felt unnaturally bright. Kong waited with the car, opening the door as they approached. Where to? Simone asked Junie. She hadn't thought that far ahead. The safe house was compromised. Her apartment didn't feel safe. She had nowhere to go. I don't know, she admitted. Simone nodded like he'd expected this. Hotel for now. My security team will coordinate. Then we can discuss options. In the car, silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything unsaid. They'd been through something impossible together, and now normal conversation seemed trivial. Finally, Junie asked the question pressing on her mind. What happens to you now? After going public like this? Simone looked out the window, his profile sharp against the passing scenery. Adjustments will be necessary. Some business arrangements will need restructuring. My privacy is compromised, but not irreparably. That's a very professional way of saying your life just got harder. A small smile touched his lips. I faced worse. Because of me. He turned to her then, his eyes serious. Because it was the right thing to do. Don't take on that burden. At the hotel, a discreet, upscale place with attentive staff and no questions, Simone arranged adjoining rooms. Security in the hallway. Everything handled with the efficiency she'd come to expect from him. Before he left her at her door, he paused. You should rest. We can talk tomorrow, when things are clearer. Junie wanted to say something. Thank you felt inadequate. I'm sorry seemed wrong. What came out was, what about June? Pain flashed across Simone's face, quickly controlled. He's been removed from his position. Beyond that, I haven't decided. He betrayed you because he loved you. That doesn't excuse it. No. But it explains it. Simone's hand tightened on the doorframe. Rest, Junie. Everything else can wait. 3 days later, Junie stood in front of the TV in her hotel room, watching Councilman Morris give a press conference. He looked older than his photos. Strained. My daughter is struggling with mental health issues that have gone untreated for too long. We're getting her the help she needs. We ask for privacy during this difficult time. The classic defense. Not denial, but deflection. Mental illness as the explanation, not the entitled rage of someone who couldn't stand being refused. Junie's phone buzzed. Maya. Girl, you're famous. I can't believe all this. Are you okay? Where are you? Junie smiled despite everything. I'm safe. At a hotel. It's a lot. Are you with him? The suit guy? They're saying all kinds of crazy stuff about him online. He's helped me. That's all that matters. Yeah, but what happens now? With you guys? It was the question Junie had been asking herself. What did happen now? The immediate danger was gone. Vanessa was in custody, her father scrambling to contain the scandal. The crisis that had thrown them together was ending. What remained? There's a phenomenon called trauma bonding, where intense shared experiences create powerful connections between people. The question is always, when the crisis ends, does the bond remain? Does it transform into something sustainable, or was it just a response to extreme circumstances? There's no simple answer. Only time tells. 1 week after the warehouse, Junie sat in a coffee shop with Simone. Public. Neutral ground. Her choice. The lease on your old apartment ends next month, he said, sliding a folder across the table. I've had my people research options. Safe buildings. Good security. Affordable. You want me to move? I want you to have choices. She opened the folder. Printouts of apartments. All within her budget. All in better neighborhoods than she could normally afford. Are you subsidizing these? Yes. No hesitation. No shame. Consider it compensation for what you've been through. I don't need your charity. It's not charity, Junie. It's amends. Not just for what happened with Vanessa, but for Seo Jun's betrayal. You were put at risk because of dynamics within my organization. I take responsibility for that. She studied his face. The careful control was still there, but something had changed. A new openness. Like the crisis had cracked something open in him that couldn't be closed again. What about you? What happens to your business? Your life? Adjustments. Some of my more questionable ventures are being divested. The legitimate businesses continue. My security protocols have been completely overhauled. And Seo Jun? Simone's expression tightened. He's been given resources to start over elsewhere. We won't be in contact. I'm sorry. For what? That you lost someone important to you because of me. Simone shook his head. I lost him long before you came into the picture. I just didn't see it. They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the coffee shop washing around them. I've been thinking about school, Junie said finally. Pre-law. Like I wanted before. Simone nodded. The application deadlines for spring semester are coming up. I can connect you with admissions counselors at several programs if you'd like. I'd like to do it myself. But thank you. Their eyes met across the table. Something unspoken passing between them. What are we doing, Simone? Junie finally asked. Is this goodbye? Is this something else? What do you want it to be? I don't know yet. I'm still figuring out who I am without fear. Without running. He nodded like he understood perfectly. Then perhaps we take it one day at a time. No expectations. No obligations. Just coffee. Just coffee. For now. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't a goodbye. It was a door, left carefully open. 2 weeks after the warehouse, Junie stood in her new apartment. Top floor. Good security. A place all her own. She'd accepted Simone's help, but on her terms. 3 months' rent as a loan, not a gift. She'd pay him back when she was settled. The apartment came furnished, but she'd brought a few things from her old place. Things that mattered. Her grandmother's quilt. Her favorite books. A small plant that had somehow survived everything. Her phone buzzed. A text from Simone. Detective Reyes called. Vanessa accepted a plea deal. 2 years, mandatory therapy, permanent restraining order. It's done. Junie sat on her new couch, letting the words sink in. It's done. 2 simple words that meant everything. No more looking over her shoulder. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. She texted back, "Thank you for letting me know." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, "Are you free for coffee tomorrow?" Junie smiled. "Just coffee. Just coffee. No pressure." She texted back one word, "Yes." Then she got up and went to the window. The city sprawled below, sunset painting everything gold. For the first time in years, she could look out without scanning for danger. Her phone buzzed again. Maya this time. "Girl. I know you're setting up your new place, but turn on the news." Junie flipped on the TV. Breaking news banner. Councilman Morris announces resignation amid scandal. The camera showed the councilman, looking defeated. "I failed as a father. I failed to see the signs of my daughter's struggles. And for that, I must take responsibility." Behind him, a group of women stood together. Junie recognized them from news reports. The others. Vanessa's previous victims who had been silenced. Not silent anymore. There's something powerful about standing together. About realizing you're not the only one. That your experience wasn't unique or your fault. Sometimes healing doesn't just come from escaping abuse. It comes from helping make sure it doesn't happen to someone else. Junie's phone buzzed one more time. Simone again. "Justice looks different than I expected." She smiled. "Better or worse?" "Just different. Slower. More complicated. But perhaps more lasting. Like healing, she thought. Like trust. Like whatever was growing between them, this careful, tentative thing with no name yet. Not a fairy tale ending. Something better. Something real.